Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to a new video. In this video there's not really a topic except I'm gonna try and make just a basic little game. I'm going for a style of duck hunt. Just loading up a fresh third person template here just as a sort of starting project. Don't really have a plan for this. I've not planned this video out. I've not prepared for it. I'm just going to have a go. I'm probably going to run into issues, but it'll be a good video for you to sort of see how I work or how I don't work in some respects. Sometimes it's very, let's see what that does. So yeah, just going to build something, and if I watch back through it and I see there may be some value to people, then I'll post it. If there isn't, then you'll never see this video. So if you're watching it, it made it. Anyway, so let's get started. So I'm just going to talk through what I do as I do it. So the idea is I'm thinking I'm going to be sort of looking ahead, and then things are going to appear on the screen randomly, maybe appear or maybe jump up or something like that. And then what you've got to do is you've got to click on them as quick as you can. And if they either fall back to the ground or I don't know, maybe if you miss them, maybe you lose points, and if you hit them, you gain points. I don't really know because, like I said, I've not really planned this out. I've just got a rough idea, sort of like a click to shoot kind of thing. Nothing too fancy. Right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm thinking I don't need any of this stuff here. So I'm going to get rid of all that. I might keep a couple of the cubes. Select that. Let's get rid of these. I'm probably going to set up at this end, kind of like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Just move over here. I'm just going to grab a couple of these cubes and move them over here. I think my mouse is dying as well. I think I might have said this in another video. My left click sometimes doesn't register, or if I'm dragging something it gives up halfway, which is not not good. Let's move that over there, and then what we'll do, we'll hit R on the keyboard to scale this, move that over to there. It's going to go into top view, hit F. That zoomed out far too much. So actually, where even are we? So that's a sky sphere. Let's just click on a cube and press F. Okay, that was weird. Okay, so what have we got? So I want to get this as balanced as possible. I'm actually going to select all three of these, hit W to move them, and I'm just going to put them sort of like one grid away from the wall. I'm probably going to do the same at this end. Move them over one grid away from the wall. Pop that in place there. Whoops. Select R. Scale that over to there. That's nice and even. Then what I might do is I'm going to select both of these cubes here. I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard. If you hold Alt, it'll create a duplicate of whatever you've got selected. Make this look a little bit more random. Let's put a couple there like that. Let's move that over there like that. So we've got a little bit of foreground. Tell you what I might do. I might select these like that. Hold Alt, move them over. And then I'm going to switch back into perspective mode. And I'm just going to zoom in. And I'm just going to scale these down on all axes. Press the end key on your keyboard, and what it'll do is it'll drop a static mesh down to the next sort of collider that it hits. So if I hit end, they're now level on my ground. I'm going to hold Alt on just this one cube, pull that over, rotate that around, and you know what I might do? Let's just put this a little bit closer, and I'm going to hold Alt, grab this over here like that. Pop that there, rotate that around, and then I'm going to press the end key and make sure that's colliding correctly. And let's see what that looks like. So yeah, so I want to go for something like that. So move that over, rotate that, so it looks a bit more random. That's fine, and they're fine. Okay, so that's that. If I hit play, okay, we'll have to sort that character out because that's not going to work. But what I'm thinking, I'm going to go back to top view and I'm going to move the player start. I just want to center it to start with. Center it with my game, I guess, with the level. So that's centered. I'm going to rotate that around. Come on. 90 degrees. Press W again, get back into the move tool. Move that back. I'm probably going to go, just for now, 2 grids away from the back wall. Hit play. Obviously, I've got a character, so probably need to sort that out. What should we do with the character? What should we do with the character? Interested. What should I do with the character? Go to blueprints. Let's go to the character. I'd like to keep the character logic. I mean, although there isn't really a reason to. I'm not going to use the camera, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm not going to use the movement, so I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need a mesh, so I'm going to clear that. Compile, play. Okay, so I've got a static view. I've got rid of my mesh. I didn't need it. Oh, I can still jump, so I've left jump in there. So let's get rid of jump. Don't need that anymore. Yeah, to be fair, don't really need anything. But we've got player controller. I'll keep the mapping because I can just add to that if I need to. Just pause there for a second while my dog was barking. Must have spotted something outside. Yeah, so I'm going to keep the mapping context purely because we can just add to that nice and easily. But I'm not using any of the movement that's in it. One thing I do want to do though is I'm going to create a player controller in here because at the moment this project just uses the sort of the base default one, which is absolutely fine. You know, it works. But I just want to do a couple of changes to it, so it's better to make our own. So we'll just go player controller, BP underscore player controller. Yep, that seems right. I'm just going to open that up. And simply, all I want to do is I want to show the mouse cursor. That's literally all I want to do. But I could put some extra logic in here if I want to. You know, making your own controller is pretty useful. Yep, so that's that. What I want to do is make sure that my controller is going to be set up. So I'm going to go to the world blueprints over here, or the blueprint menu. I'm going to go to my project, and I'm going to make sure my player controller is then changed to the one I've just made, so BP player controller. If not, it just uses the sort of engine default player controller. But so we've added that. So if I press play now and click into my game, you can see that the mouse is now visible on the screen. Obviously, you could set it up with like a cursor, but for now, I just want something that's playable. So we'll go with that. Okay, so I'm happy with that at the moment. So I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to put this as targets. And to start, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off with maybe like a cube that jumps up in the air. So what I'm going to do I need to use one of these? Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a blueprint class. This is going to be a... Yes, it's going to be an actor. BP underscore target. open that up. So what am I going to need? So I'm going to need a collider. So I'm going to do maybe a sphere collision. No, I'm going to use a cube, so I'm going to use a box collision. First, I'll do a box collision. Collider. It's double L, isn't it? Is it double L? I feel like it's double L, but I could be wrong. It looked wrong either way. Okay, so I've got a box collision, and I'm going to add a static mesh. And the static mesh I'm going to use is the chamfered cube, which comes with this template. So the chamfered cube. I'm just going to get my box collision and just make this a bit bigger. 50, 51. Yeah, 51. We'll go 51, 51, 51. So that just encapsulates the cube very nicely. Go back to my static mesh, and I'm just going to change the colour from the solid blue, which is the same as the other one. I'm pretty sure there's like a bright orange nearby. Oh, yeah, we're coming up to. Never mind. Let's type in basic. I'm certain it's under the basics. To be fair, yellow. Yeah, that's appropriate. It's nice and obvious, isn't it? Yep. I'm just thinking, how are we going to get it to move? What I'm probably going to do. So this is probably going to be spawned. Now, when you spawn an actor, as soon as it's created in the world, the event begin play. So this sort of function here is triggered. So as soon as you spawn it, as soon as it's created in the world, the event begin play activates. So anything I put on event begin play is only going to activate at the point that actor exists. So what I'm thinking is we could do like an add impulse. I don't think there is a launch. No, it's not right. Yeah, so add impulse. Impulse. What should we go for? I'm going to go for the collider. And I'm actually going to make the collider. Am I going to do that? Let's put the static mesh on the collider. Yeah. And then let's add the impulse to the collider. So effectively, I've made the static mesh a child of the collider. So wherever the collider goes, the mesh goes with it. Because depending on the organization, sometimes you can get just the mesh to move and the rest of the object actually stays where it is, and it gets a bit weird. Anyway, so I'm going to delete these other ones. So once we spawn this in the world, or once this game starts, just for testing, I'm going to add a delay, because I'm just going to place this in the world just while I test this. Let's move that over there. If you select two nodes, you can select 3 or 4 nodes, it's up to you, but if you select 2 nodes and press the Q key, it actually straightens them. So if I get this delay and this impulse and press W, you'll see that it snaps it and straightens it. That's quite a neat little thing that I use quite often that I feel some people won't know. So duration, I'm just going to put 0.5, 2 seconds. I was going to put 0.5, but that's still just as quick as 0.2, so 2 seconds. Add impulse, I'm going to go just on the z-axis, and I'm thinking maybe 500, but I do want it to be a velocity change. So this is like an instant change of, so it's instantly going to get 500 added to the Z. If you don't do this, it takes the mass of the object and gravity and it adds 500 to it, but it's quickly dampened by gravity almost immediately, so you don't actually see it. But with the velocity change, its velocity instantly gets set to 500, So you tend to notice a difference straight away. So let's chuck one of these into the game. Let's move that up. My collider's obviously working great. And obviously you need physics, don't you? So let's go back into here. Let's simulate physics on the collider. I just want to check its collisions as well. So it's on overlap. So I'm just going to set it to block all for now. Go back, and if I press end, I'd hope it stays halfway, but I guess not. Okay, so that definitely jumped, so I'm happy with that. I'm a little bit less happy that it sits halfway, which is a bit unusual, but it is what it is. Click on the static mesh. I'm going to go to the collision preset. I'm going to set that to block all as well. Hit compile. And I'm just going to press end again. It's actually bugging me, this. It's probably because where the anchor point is, but bit annoying, but I shouldn't worry about it too much. It's not game breaking. Okay, so we press play. 2 seconds, the cube jumps. So that's not really jumping quite enough. I'm probably going to change that to 1 second. And I'm probably going to set this to 750. Hit compile, hit play. That's better. 1250. Hit play. Okay, I like that, but it's quite close at the moment. So let's now move this over here. Let's put this behind here like that. That could work. That could work. That could work. What I'm going to do... So, I want that to repeat, just for some testing. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do an event timer. So, set timer by event. So... From my event begin play, we're going to set this timer going. Every 3 seconds, I want an event to trigger. And I want this to keep doing it, so I'm going to select a loop in. And the event that I want to trigger is going to be a custom event. Whoop, not customer, custom event. And I'm just going to put launch cube. Or launch target, I guess, would be a better one to pick. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in. Do I need the delay now? I probably don't need that delay anymore, because my delay is built into my loop. Connect that there. This is where I found out 3 seconds isn't enough for the cube to fly up and come back down, and it keeps flying off the screen. But we'll find that out in a minute. So what this is going to do is when it's spawned or placed in the world, this timer is going to start, and every 3 seconds this event is going to be called or triggered, which is going to add an impulse. So every 3 seconds I should see my cube jump. So hit play. So it jumps, then it jumps, then it jumps. Okay, cool. So that's working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to promote this time to a variable, and I'm going to put trigger time. Or loop. Yeah, trigger time, it would be fine. Trigger time. Hit compile, and it's set to 3 seconds because it sort of took that variable that I typed in earlier. Now, just one thing to note, that once this timer is activated, you have to stop the timer and restart it if you want to set a different time. What I mean by that is, if you set this to like pick a random value between 1 and 5, when you start this timer, it will start with that one random value, and it will only pick another random value once you stop and start it. So it's not trigger, get a new time, trigger, get a new time. It's not like that. So you can't just put a random figure in here and have a different time each time. One way around that, just on a bit of a sidetrack here, is if from your time you say random int or random float in range, I'd probably go int, but just for a whole number, but random float's fine. Random integer in range from 1 to 5, and then just for simplicity we'll convert that into a float. So every time this triggers, it's not going to get a different value. So let's say this assigns itself to the number 5. Once this starts, it's going to be 5 seconds forever until you turn this off. What you could do is from the return value, there is something called clear and invalidate, which effectively is the stop timer. What you could do is every time you let's think about this. Let's make another custom event to start timer. You could effectively, now this is going to loop forever in effect, unless you put like you could put like a branch boolean here for like true or false. But if we do start timer, so every time we do a loop, so we'll do a loop, 3 seconds or 5 seconds will go by, this will trigger, launch my cube, it'll cancel the timer, but then start the timer, which will tell the timer to get a new random value. That's one way you could make this value random. Yeah. But what I probably would do as a safety net would be put a branch in there with a boolean to restart. And then somewhere else have something that keeps this either true, just so then there's somewhere you can kill this if you need to, but it's up to you. A recommendation, not a requirement, because otherwise you've got a forever loop. Anyway, let's just test this out. Okay, that felt longer, but I don't know if that was a coincidence. Oh, there you go. Yep. So they must be the 1 seconds. Then it's got a longer number. So yeah, I thought for a second there that it wasn't actually working, but there's definitely a significant time. Although there was definitely a 1 second timer just for a second there. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I'd go about a random. I feel like I've been asked that question in the past. I know this video is not going to be advertised for that, but if you watch my video, that's how you do it. Okay, so enough of that. So we've got a sort of a decent number though. What I might also do, I should probably work on getting the game working first because we're at 24 minutes. I was thinking we should pick a random colour every time one spawns, but let's get some. Let's get something working in this game to start with. Actually, I'm going to replace this with Spawner's Honor. Right, what I'm going to do in my targets, I'm going to create a new blueprint. Call this actor. BP underscore target manager. Or spawner. manage spawner. When you don't plan something out, it's difficult to sort of picture what you're going to be doing. What I'm going to do is, effectively, this is going to handle how many it should spawn and how many are going to be in the game at once. Roughly. Yeah, and this is going to sort of like, it's going to take different spawn points in and then spawn cubes at them. So that, for the requirement for that, I'm going to need spawn points. So I'm going to change this to a variable type target point. So the object type target point. This is actually going to be an array, so you can right click on this little bean icon and change it to an array, or you can select the variable itself, come over to this side and pick this little bean icon here and say you want an array. This is going to be my spawn locations. It's going to be my spawn locations. Hit compile, and then because we've got an array, you get this drop down. Now, because this is going to be sort of like yeah, you can't edit this directly because it's going to take objects that are like within the game. So to be able to populate this list, what I need to do is come into your game, and it doesn't really matter where, because this is just sort of like a manager object. It doesn't really matter where it goes. So just pop in your manager there. And if you go back, let's just make this instance editable and expose on spawn. So this is the spawn locations. Hit compile. Go back to your map. And then you can see here now, with my target spawner selected, I've now got this array. And I can actually pick stuff from my game, because it requires sort of like because it's an object type that I've picked, the target point object type. It can only see target points. But because I don't have any yet, it can't see any. So let's fix that. I'm going to go to top view just so I can keep this nice and even. I'm going to go to the sort of quick add menu, and I'm just going to type in target. And I should get target point. So there's one. And I'm just going to line this up as best as I can. Actually, let's put one here. Now, holding Alt, I'm just going to pull one to about there. One to about there. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just put it there. Yep, and then I put that one down. So that's fine, but I'm actually going to move them over, because realistically that center one's not going to be there in a minute. Yep, so get rid of that cube in the middle. So I shouldn't waste that much time on this, to be fair. Okay, that'll do. I don't want to waste too much time on it. Pop back into perspective view, and obviously you can't see them, but if you select all of them in your outliner up at the top, one thing I have noticed is they're all on the ground. So I'm just going to lift these all up at the same time to about 70. I just want to lift them up so then they're more than 50, because I'm going to spawn a cube on them and I don't want the cube to go through the ground. So I think 70 is alright. However, I'm starting to think maybe I should go to that block line there. I feel like, yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So now I'm going to pick my spawner, my target spawner, and I'm just going to pick all of them. So target point, add, target point 2, target point 3, and target point 4. So effectively now my target spawner is aware of 4 locations which I can use to spawn my cubes from. So back in my target spawner, obviously this won't update because it's gonna see the values that I've assigned on the map, should I say. So what I want to do now is, I think I'm going to go from event begin player, but I'm not sure yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spawn actor from class. Spawn an actor from class. The class is going to be BP underscore target. So target. Where do I want to spawn it? So this is where I get my spawn location. Now this is an array, so this could be target point number 1, 2, 3, or 4. But I want to pick one at random. So I'm going to say random. So get a random array item. That array item is going to have a transform. So get transform. And then that's going to be my spawn transform. Just like that. That's annoying, but yeah, it's alright. Anyway, collision handling. So try to adjust the location, but always spawn. Try to adjust the location, but don't spawn if you're still colliding. Now, I'm thinking, if it picks the same location twice, there could be a cube already there. Which wouldn't be good, because then they'll jump out of the map. So I'm just going to try and adjust the location, but then spawn. I'll see how that works, and if they've got cubes everywhere, then I'll probably not do that. We're probably going to want this to repeat. So I'm going to do a timer by event coming off here, because I want to loop this. I want to do this multiple times. Let's move this over here. How often do I want a cube to spawn? For now, let's say every 5 seconds. What event do I want to do? It's going to be a custom event. The event is going to be spawn targets. Plug that in. I'm just going to move this up just for my mild bit of OCD. Yeah, I'm going to put these around here like that. There you go. Let's leave it like that. So every 5 seconds, I'm going to get a random location and spawn a target cube. Inside my cube, I'm going to wait 3 seconds and then jump into the air. I'm not sure we need to do that anymore. I don't think we need to wait. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to connect this straight to this. So this will do the delay between spawning, and then this will chuck it into the air. So if I've done that right now and press play, so 7 seconds is going to feel like a millennium. So there we go. So we've got a cube. And did I set it to looping? I didn't tell it to loop, so it's only done it once. Okay, let's try that again. There's our first cube. There's our second cube. There's a third cube. And I'm fairly certain that's going to continue to keep happening. One thing I just thought about there, actually, let me pick this map and press play. I'm just going to eject. So one thing, just for sort of like new people, if you press play, once you click into the game, you sort of like you've taken control of your controller. What you can do, you might need to press Shift and F1 to gain control of your mouse again. But you can effectively pause the game, continue playing, or you can eject, which effectively detaches you from your player. So if I had a character there, you'd be able to see it, but at the moment I don't. But what it's allowing me to do is I'm going to come over here and just watch the chaos unfolding. So 2 cubes have just collided with each other there because they've spawned where another cube is. So what I'm seeing is the issue I've got is the cubes that have not been clicked on because I've not made that yet. They're landing back on the ground, but then another cube spawning in its place, so they're all bunching up. So if these come into contact with anything, which is probably going to be the ground, I want it to delete itself. So that's the thing I'm going to do now. So my target, what I'm going to do is, with this collider, select the collider. Now because it's a collision box, it has events for when it touches stuff. I'm going to do for the on event begin overlap, and hopefully I'm going to do print string, and I'm just going to do other actor. So what have you collided with? What was the other object that you hit? And then destroy yourself. So destroy actor. The reason I'm doing this is because it might collide with itself, and I want to know what it's hit before it deletes itself. So I'm going to hit player. I'm going to wait, and once that string triggers, it should pop up here. Interesting. So I'm not actually seeing anything. That's surprised me. So I'm just going to pop out. Let's go over here. Interesting. Okay, so that's bizarre that it's not triggered. So what am I missing now? So block all, so that should get me a collision response from stuff. Is my collider big enough to actually do that? Maybe if I go 50, I'm gonna go a lot bigger. 55, 55, 55. And so there should be plenty of room around that now. Okay, that's it's actually making me a bit worried why that's not triggering now. I don't think it's that. It might be because I need to make it my default seam route, because sometimes the colliders don't fully make sense to me. So yeah, okay, it wasn't that. So I'm going to do that. Make that the default seam route. Hit compile. Interesting. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. So my collider is set to block all, so it never actually overlaps anything. So block all dynamic, because the world that I'm in is a static, hopefully my cubes will now overlap the world, but not overlap other cubes, and I should get a response, which it doesn't appear I just did. Okay, so maybe I am talking rubbish. So there's still block. Right, let's go to wait. You know, I'm gonna go to custom. I'm gonna say block everything, but overlap world statics. Okay, so it appears to have overlapped on itself. Yeah, so it's set to simulate physics, but its collision is incompatible. Oh, because it thinks it's a world dynamic, but it's not. It is a world dynamic. Query, why is it set to query only? Collision enabled. Silly. Hit play. Zoom out over here. See what happens. Okay, so it's hitting itself. Right. Interesting. So it's hitting its own. What I'm gonna do on this mesh, I'm actually gonna say there is no collisions. So actually I want it to ignore everything. Custom, ignore all. It's a world dynamic technically. Generate overlap events, no. And can we step up? No. So I'm turning all the collisions off, so hopefully it stops triggering itself. Okay, so that worked for that. However, it doesn't appear to have helped. Okay, so what is this floor set to? I want it to block all, and it's a world static, so them two should collide. But now they're not. Collider. I am telling it to block, so that's not helpful. Okay, so maybe I've put these the wrong way around. Maybe I need a static mesh as my main object, which is going to block everything. So collision enabled, it's a world dynamic, and I want it to block all effectively, or block all dynamic. And my collider, I'm probably going to actually want to set to overlap all, so I get that response. So my cube's going to hit the world and stop, but then that will cause my collider to overlap. So I think that was my issue actually. I had these two the wrong way around. I guess when we press play we're going to find out. But, you know, let's see. Okay, so obviously I didn't change the physics on it, but it didn't tell me that. So my collider, I don't think we want physics enabled on that anymore, but we do on the cube. So simulate physics, hit compile, hit play. Because if you simulate physics on both of them, they'll probably want to escape from each other. Obviously, now we've switched them around. Adding an impulse to my collider is not going to work, so we'll add an impulse to the mesh, and the collider should go with it. I hope. Okay, so that seemed to work, but something I fear has happened may have just happened. So if I go to my collider and put hidden in game and untick that, hit compile, hit play, move over here, I feel like the cube might have flown through the air and left the collider. Oh no, the collider's gone with it. Okay, so that seems to have worked as I expected, but for some reason now they're not detecting each other. So the collider should overlap everything. Yes. the ground, maybe I should reset the ground back to default, to be fair. See what happens. I guess the ground is not actually an actor, but I should still be getting a response, which is actually bugging me a little bit now. So generate overlap events is on, overlap all. I'm going to simulate hit results, but that shouldn't matter. Interesting. Oh, the ground doesn't have overlap events on. But there's always something simple. So, granted, I did have my collider and the mesh the wrong way around, so hands up for that. But that's what I like about development. Sometimes it's a little bit of poking around and seeing what works and what doesn't. I'm definitely not perfect, but I do like being persistent and working through it. And then, of course, the other thing is I've been asking my collider to sort of detect overlap events, but the ground itself was never generating overlap events. So it was effectively ignoring my cube and not giving it a response that you've overlapped. Which, I was going to say it should be on by default, but I guess it depends on what game you're playing. I need it, but other games don't. Okay, so that... we're almost at an hour now, and I've not really done anything, which is annoying. So... we've got cubes, they fire into the air, and we need to click on them now. So on my character, I'm going to set up a line trace, and obviously now I've noticed the time, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. So I'm going to do a left mouse button. So that's an event. I'll probably recommend doing sort of like an context, an enhanced input context mapping. But for essence of saving time, I'm just going to hard code a left mouse button press. We're going to make a line trace. Now, a line trace is the same thing as a raycast. Effectively, it shoots a line into the world and sort of tells you what it's hit along the way. So line trace. So there's lots of different ones that you can do. I'm going to do it by channel. Channels are the collision channels. So if I select my mesh over here and we scroll down to collision, which we've just been messing around with, if you open this up, you can see here that there's some trace responses. So these are channels, basically trace channels. So we've got a visibility channel and a camera channel. Almost everything in the game will be set to visibility, bar some. You can set up custom channels if you want to only detect certain things, but in effect, anything you can see has a visibility channel set to ignore. So a line trace looking for visibility objects will hit them, and that's pretty much it. So you need a start location. Now, because our camera is effectively our eyes, if we get the location of our eyes or our camera, that's going to be our start location. So we can get the follow cam here, get world location, or you can say get actor location, I guess. Maybe not. But yeah, so you can get world location for that. The other thing you can do is you can get a player camera manager. That also returns the camera that's associated to that character at the time. And then using that one, you can get actor location. And then there's one more, which is get eyes view point. So this is basically whatever's considered the eyes for this character. So depending which camera is associated to this character, we're going to get the position of that. So where are our eyes? It's our camera. Get the location, plug that in. The reason I like this node is because it also gets the rotation of it. So if I'm rotated this way, that's the way we're looking. So that's going to be our sort of viewing direction. And if we look over here, obviously it's the same thing. We're going to get which direction we're looking in. So what we can do is we can say we are starting from here. We're looking in that direction, and I want to go 1,000 units forward, or 1,000 meters forward, and that's going to be my end location. So from the out rotation, we can say get the forward vector. This is basically just it takes a rotation and turns it into an X, Y, and Z, and says that's forward, that's forward. That's an oversimplification, but it's basically an X, a Y, and a Z of which direction that you're pointing in. What we can do then is we can times that by a float. So do a multiplication, and then let's just right click on this pin, convert it to a float, and I'm going to say 1,000. Or what you can do is promote this to a variable and say shoot range. I've miscapitalized that, but that's fine. Because then you know what this is exactly doing. It's not just a random figure typed in. So it's 1,000. Then what you want to do is you want to add that to your start location. So you've basically made an offset. So start at the eyes, go in this direction by 1,000 units, and then that's our end location. Draw debug type. We want to set this to for duration. And if you click on this little drop down here, it's for 5 seconds. Just change that to 2 seconds because 5 seconds is quite a lot. The trace will be red, and when it hits something, the remainder of the trace will be green. Hit compile, hit play, and I have made a simple mistake. My camera is fixed, so it doesn't actually rotate. So we're going to have to actually do something slightly different here. It doesn't matter where our eyes are pointing. We still need the eyes location, but we need to know where the mouse is. So for that, we get the player controller. Ooh. Player controller. Because the player controller is responsible for taking in the mouse and keyboard inputs. So the controller knows where the mouse is at all times. So what we can say is get cursor, or get hit result under the cursor by channel. I'm going to have to pause and get a glass of water in a minute. Again, we're going to go for visibility because everything in the game's pretty much set to visibility. Wherever that hits in the world, we want to break that hit result because we're interested in the impact point, or where in the game did it hit. Trace end? No. So impact point, and I'm actually going to say that's my end point for now, and let's just see what happens there. So hit compile, hit play. So click there, click there, click there, click there, click there, click there, click on my cube. Okay, I think that is working. The only thing I'm worried about is the sky. Now, one thing I did notice anyway, when these cubes jump up, the sky is a bit distracting. So, as a bit of a cheat, I'm going to put my wall really high. Just as a sort of a background, let's say. Let's set that to 15. I'm also going to set these walls to 8. I might go 15 again. So I'm putting myself in a arena kind of thing. So now when I click, I'm always going to get a location. So click, hit the cube. Click, hit the... Ooh, I didn't hit it that time. I wonder if that is my distance. I don't really have a distance at the moment, so that's certainly thrown me a little bit. Let's go for trace complex. See if that spruces it up a little bit. Because now I don't really have a location, so that shouldn't have happened. Hang on a minute. So we're hitting visibility. Let's go to my target. My mesh, it should be hitting that actually, so that shouldn't be an issue. Just checking all of my collisions. Collision. So yeah, they should all be fine. So I feel like some of them are hitting, but then some of them are not. Let's double check. So I'm actually starting to think we might not need this line trace at all, to be honest. Because this might do it. This might do everything that I need. I'm going to try something. Let's go for a print string. Every time I click, do a print string, and every time I want to get the display name of the actor that I've hit. So if I click chamfered cube, background, target cube, I don't actually need the line trace at all. Now if you do want to draw the line trace in the world, keep using this, but why have code or blueprint you don't actually need? Because if this is working, I'm going to keep this sort of debug string for now. I might find a reason why I might need this in just a minute, but if that's working, what the hell? So what I'm actually going to say is I'm going to say destroy actor, and I want to destroy the actor that I click on. But I don't want to just start destroying my world, because that's going to be possible now, isn't it? I could destroy my whole game, which we don't want. So I'm going to attempt to cast to BP target. So what this is going to do is this cast node allows you to, like, you're effectively asking permission to become the target cube in some respect of whatever's in the target. I want to access all of its variables. I want to know where it is. I want to know exactly what it's doing at all times. So you're effectively you want to access everything about it. Now, to be able to access everything about it, to be able to cast to it, you need to pass in the same object that you're trying to cast to, which I'm passing in whatever actor I hit. So if this cast is successful, i.e. the object that I pass in is actually a target, we should be able to destroy it. If it fails, that means that I'm not a target. Yep. Hit compile, hit play. So if I click on this, I'm not a target. I'm not a target. The yellow cube was a target. The wall, not a target, not a target, not a target. Cube, I missed it, but it was a target. There you go, it was a target. So now I don't need this development string here. So let's remove those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a reroute node in there just to make it look a bit prettier. Drag that into, whoops, my mouse again. Plug that into there like that. I no longer need this blue one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and clean up a little bit. Bob that down here. Move that over there like that. Put that there, maybe there like that. Pop that there, and then pop that there like that. Okay. Oops. Bloody mouse. Let's put that like that. Don't need all this information anymore. So what I've got, left mouse button click. We're going to cast to the target. If it is a target that we've clicked, it's going to destroy it. And if not, it's going to say, I'm not a target. Okay, so now we need some sort of like point scoring system. And you know, let's try and I'm not going to build this with too much thought, unfortunately, because it is an hour long, and we've built very little in that time. But I hope what I've spoke about so far has been worth it. Although 10-15 minutes of it probably was me failing with the colliders, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's also getting really dark, so let me just chuck my lamp on. There we go. Right, so what I'm thinking, I'm probably going to track my score within my game mode. The reason I'm going to go for game mode is because you can access the game mode at any time in any blueprint, and it just makes it real simple. The player controller is also a good one to use, not for too much stuff, but if you've got a real basic game like this and you just want to track integers like score or losses, it should be fine. But the game mode is here, the third person game mode. You can access this at any point. All you need to make sure is that you've got an actual game mode like this. It's an actual file that you can open up, and it's not, let's just show you an example, and it's not the base game mode. Okay, so let's open up the game mode. I'm simply just going to create a variable for hits and misses. So hits, and I'm going to change this to a integer just so we can't have half numbers. And I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to put misses. And I guess what we could also do is let's do a spawn count. Because if 10 things were spawned and you hit 10, you've perfect, 100% score. But the hits and misses don't mean anything if you don't track how many if you don't track how many things you've actually spawned. Okay, so what I'm thinking is best way to do this. So every time a target is spawned, what I'm going to do, so event begin play, I'm going to, so right click, get game mode. So this is what I mean by you can access it anywhere in your game. Get game mode, and then let's cast to third person game mode. So by casting to it, if you remember just a minute ago, we get access to everything within it. So as the third person game mode, we can then say spawn count. So we can get access to that spawn count, but we can also set it, which is good. Before I do that, instead of casting to this game mode every single time that I need it, because I've done it in the event begin play, this will happen once. Let's just save a reference of that. So let's promote it to a variable. And then we get this as third person game mode. You can rename it if you want, but I think that's pretty relevant. And then every time we spawn something, let's use this reference. So let's get this reference. And let's say I want to adjust the spawn count. Now, you could set it to what it currently is, +1, and then set it. Or you could get it, and then instead, let's say I want to increment it by 1. So if you do ++, you get increment int. Now, this is a function because what it does, as it says here, it adds 1 to it and then resets it. So it just adds 1. And there's decrement as well, so you can do -, and that'll just save you having to put a few extra nodes on the screen. So every time we spawn one, that spawn count should go up. This has failed. Oh, I know why. So we've created these variables, but we've never compiled this script before we've moved away. So if we hit compile, technically they existed, but they didn't exist enough for this to see it. So if we hit compile now, that exists. And we can test that. The only downside is we're going to have nowhere to see this information. So in my third person, I'm just going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it UI. Go into that, and I'm not going to spend a hell of a lot of time on this. I'm going to go to user interface, widget blueprint, select user widget. I'm going to call this a WBP for widget blueprint underscore main HUD. Open that up, and first thing I'm going to do is going to go down to panel, add a canvas panel, and I am going to put 3 text boxes. So I'm going to put 1, and I'm actually going to keep it over here. So let's say position 100, 100 and 100. I'm going to grab another one. I'm going to go to anchors, and I'm going to anchor to the center. I'm going to say 100, and I'm going to set that to 0, but it's going to look wrong. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the alignment to 0.5. Effectively, they spawn from this top corner, but if you set the alignment to 0.5, it halves that. And it's the same for the Y as well. If we set it to 1, it'll be on the bottom edge. If we set it to 0, it's the top edge, and 0.5 is the middle. In this instance, it doesn't really matter. It's just the X that we need to worry about. Okay, so that's fine for me. And then one more. Let's pop that over here. Anchor, right side. I'm going to do -100. And then I'm going to do position 100 on that. This time I need to change the alignment again to 1 in this instance. Yep. Because zeros would be this side, 0.5's the middle, and then 1's the opposite side, which is exactly what we want. Quickly change the name of these. So this is text block 1. This is going to be my hits. This is going to be my spawn count. And this is going to be my misses. The misses, I'm going to change to red. So I'm going to go to color and opacity. Change that to red. My hits, I'm going to change to green. So colors and opacity. I'm probably going to just set the RGB value there to 1 on the G. And then for my count, I'm going to leave that as white, to be honest. So they're all named appropriately. We just need to update them now with some text. So I'm going to go to the designer. And I knew I was going to forget to do that. For each text block, we can either do a binding, which might be easier actually. Let's do a binding. A binding effectively automatically updates itself when values are changed. So it'll check constantly if something's changed and then update when it needs to. But you can bind to a data value on another object or another blueprint, and that's where I think we might be more useful doing it. So let's go to the graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the data within my game mode. So we'll have access to the spawn count, the misses, and the hits. And then we'll just tell them text fields to bind to those integer values in the game mode. So whenever they change, my user interface will change automatically. So just a quick note, you might be familiar with a tick. Runs every game tick. Every time the game updates, this fires. Event construct, imagine this as just event begin play. It's pretty much the same. Now, event pre-construct is just before everything's built and it's sort of like the interface is put on the screen. This will run. I'd be careful using this one because typically you can't be certain which order things are going to load. Anything that I've tried running through, not anything, but quite often I've put stuff in there by accident and it's not worked, and it's because I've put it in pre-construct and not the construct. I'd probably not use that until you've got to a point where you're like, I wish this happened a bit sooner. For now, event begin player and event tick. We just need the event begin player. So I'm going to drag off this. I'm going to put cast to game mode, which is actually third person. Third person game mode. We need an object, so we can get that game mode again. Get game mode. Hit compile. So as that third person game mode, we can now get hits, misses, and the spawn count. We don't want to access that in here, but what we can do now is come back to our designer. We can select our hits. On our text field here, instead of text block, we can say, I want you to bind to a value. Now, you can create a binding. Did I hit compile? I did. Okay, we're going to need to make a reference. So, as the third person game mode promotes a variable and hit compile, we've now got a reference to our game mode. Back to the designer. Now, if we select bind, you'll notice that as well as create binding, we can now say, well, this variable that you've got has some data inside it. So we can actually bind to them values now. So you can see hits, misses, and spawn count. So because we're on our hits text field, I want to bind to hits. I want to bind my spawn count to this one, and I want to bind my misses to this one. So my UI is now going to update automatically every time something changes. So we need to display our UI on the screen. For this, I'm going to put this in my character, but it might be a good idea to put it in your game mode, maybe. So let's do event begin player. Let's create a widget. What is it? Create widget. Create widget. Select class, WBP main. Return value. It's a good idea to promote this to a variable. Let's call this main HUD. Main HUD. Oh, you can call it whatever you want, but my widget's called main HUD, so I'm just going to keep the reference. And then finally, we need to add that to a viewport. Yeah, so it's a good idea to promote this to a variable, because if you ever need to access any of the values on your HUD, you've got a reference to it already made. But then finally you just need to add it to your viewport, because you're going to create the widget, but if you don't add it to your screen, it'll never be visible. So if we hit play now, we should see we've got some scores on the screen, and when a box is spawned, you can see that my spawn count goes up 2, and then when I click on something, nothing happens. So when we click on a target, when we click on a target, where are the targets? Here we go. So when we click on a target, obviously if we can cast to it, we destroy it. That's a perfect time to then increase the score. So let's go up to the top. Let's just make a permanent reference to our game mode so we don't have to cast to it every time. So again, get game mode. Get game mode. We're going to drag off that. We're going to do a cast to third person game mode. Connect that in there like that. Let's make it a bit neater. Just like that. Let's promote this game mode to a variable so we can use it regularly. We are having to cast to it multiple times. Comes down to the bottom. So as our reference, we want to get hits, and then we want to increase our hits by 1. just like that. So our hit score should go up. And if our target hits the ground and deletes itself, we're going to consider that a miss. So in our target, on event begin overlap, we've hit something. We can get rid of this string now because we're fairly confident that it's working. And then when it destroys itself, we should probably increase the score before, or sorry, increase the misses before we destroy it. Because I'm just thinking, once we've destroyed it, this script doesn't exist, so the next thing won't work. So, event begin player. We can get rid of this timer now. We know we don't need that. Unless you want to add some random variance to it, but probably do that in the spawner anyway. Do we want to... Let's just do it when it happens, to be honest. I don't think there's any saving doing it right at the beginning. Yeah, I don't think there's any point. Cast to third person game mode. I'm just thinking the time between it spawning and it being killed, I don't think there's any sort of performance benefit putting it at the begin. It probably doesn't make that much of a difference, especially with this type of game. It's very low performance. So let's cast to that game mode. Let's get the misses. Let's decrement it. No, we're not going to decrement it, but we're going to increase it. I mean, we could just decrement the score, I guess, but increase that. Let's plug that into here, just like this. Let's have a go. So we're going to hit play. I'm going to click that. There we go. My score's just gone up by 1. I'm going to desperately try and click this one. Oh, I missed it. And my score's now gone down. Here we go. So we're 2 out of 3 so far. Click on that one. So 3 out of 4. Oh, no, I can't quite click on that one. I missed that one, so I've got 2 misses again. So, we've got a basic system there. Obviously, there's loads of things we can do to make this better. You know, we can duplicate our text and put it just above it. Actually tell the people that this is a score, so hits. Yeah, this is the spawn count. Put that there. 0. Spawn count, I'm probably going to center that so it doesn't look as weird. Let's center that, which makes it look weird. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to center all of these texts, to be honest. Center align all of them, because they're just going to be 0. And then let's do the same on this one. Paste that. Put that there. Let's do -100 so it's nice and center. And this is going to be misses. Okay, so now we actually know what's going on. So we can see this like that. I've just noticed as well, actually, depending on the size of your window, depends on how much of the sky you can see. But to be fair, I guess my cubes are never going to go that high anyway. But we've got a nice little counter there. And then let's do one more thing. Let's add an image to this, and I'm actually going to say I want the full window. So I've clicked on this anchor for the full window. I'm going to hold shift to update the alignment, and I'm also going to hold control and just blank it out. I'm going to say the Z order is 1, so it's going to be on top of everything. I'm going to set the color to black. Yep. And then I'm going to put a text in the middle, again with a Z order of 1. I'm going to set my font here to 72. That's not big enough. 96. That's a bit better. I'm going to say game over. I'm going to center align that. And I'm going to attempt to put this in the center. So I'm going to 0, 0, and then go to my alignment, 0.5, 0.5. That should center it as best as it can. I'm going to size to content as well, so the text box sort of snaps to that size. Game over. Yep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the game over as... I don't think I can do that, can I? Let's wrap this image inside a... What should I put it in? I don't want... do I want an overlay? I think overlays mess the stuff up. Yeah, I knew they were going to do that. Let's wrap this with... I think I do want an overlay though, to be fair. Overlay. Drag that in there so they're in there together. The image wants to be full. The game over wants to be center. Okay. And then the Z order of the overlay is 1, so that's fine. But we want to set the visibility to collapsed. Is that going to work? Yep. So although it's visible here, it's collapsed. It's not taking up any space in the screen. So game over. Whoops. Game over. Game over. Yep. And then let's change its visibility. Let's bind that. What can we bind it to? So what's that binding expecting? Oh, it's it's fair enough. It's expecting that. Okay, let's see what we can do here. So I've created a binding, and I'm gonna say when the spawn count if the spawn count is greater than or equal to 10 is true. Let's return visible. If it's false, whoa, press the wrong button there. Meant to press Control D for duplicate. If it's false, we're going to keep it collapsed. Hit compile, hit play, and really I should have set this to 2, so we don't have to wait for 10 cubes. So when my spawn count gets to 2, I should get a game over screen. Hey, there we go. So obviously you're not going to just game over like that. You could set up another text field here which is bound to your data, and or you could customize it and say, you know, you got 5 out of 10 shots, you know, you win, or well 6 out of 10, whatever's better, or bad luck, you missed 3, something like that. You can make that however you want. Obviously there's loads of things you can add to this. We can add sound. I might even do a part 2. I mean, this is an hour and a half and we've not really done anything. I feel like I've not done anything, but I hope I've explained stuff as I've gone along, or I've shown you features within Unreal that you didn't know. I hope it was worthwhile. I'm probably going to post this. It's probably not great for everyone, but Hopefully some people learn something from it. I feel like if you're a beginner, this is sort of like a good thing to go through. You can share some of the pain that I went through. The collision things, yep, did throw me. You know, whether that's it is what it is, or a bit of camera pressure, who knows. But either way, I feel like there may be some things that beginners can learn. Hopefully it was of some value. And if you want me to do things like this, I will probably do a part 2 to this. Hopefully get through things a little bit quicker. You'll have to let me know if the pace of this was alright and you are actually into sort of like really long form content. Let me know. If you want me to pick the pace up, let me know. But it'd be great if you let me know, like, I'm a beginner and I want you to go a bit quicker. Because if I get people that say, yeah, go faster, but you're already experienced with Unreal, then granted, I understand you want me to get through stuff a bit quicker. But if I'm getting more comments from beginners saying like, no, the pace was fine, then I'm really not going to speed it up. But if I'm getting beginners saying, yes, speed things up, then obviously I'll take that on board. But yeah, I'll follow this up with a part 2. But if you like this kind of thing, and you probably want me to like work towards other sort of little projects at a slow, relaxed pace, I could probably break this video up into sort of like 4 parts and release it over a week or something like that. That might be better than just a 1.5 hour video. But if you like seeing this, obviously give me a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you want to chat about what we've made today or any other sort of issues that you might have in Unreal, or if you've got any requests or anything like that, again, comments, or in the link down below, there's a Discord server. There's tons of us now. Fairly active in there. If you've got any issues in Discord, you can send me screenshots, little clips, and other bits and pieces that I can assist you with your projects. I'm always happy to help, because anything that people are stuck on gives me something to do, and if I don't know, it gives me a reason to learn something. If it's really out there in the realms of I don't know, I might tell you, look, sorry, I don't know. But I'll always try and have a go first. So if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe if you want to. Join the Discord server, leave me a comment, give me a like, do whatever you want. Appreciate any of it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye.